from Arkansas's #1 trusted source for weather. This is a severe weather alert.
Alrighty, good evening Arkansas. This is Assistant Chief Forecaster Cameron back here once again. We're going to give you guys a live stream going over the tornado warning in Union County at this current time here. So we're going to go ahead and go over to Shreveport's radar real fast here. And we talked about this on the page about an hour ago that this was potential. We have what we call an MCV low, a little low pressure coming through the area, and it's going to kind of generate these little small showers that will be capable of producing these brief tornadoes here. So this one's going to go for Union County here, just waiting for the radar to catch up back up with me real fast. This tornado warning is going to go until 10 o'clock this evening here. The storm is moving northeast at about 20 miles per hour here. So if you know anyone in these areas, they do need to take their tornado precautions immediately. Get away from windows, put as many walls to you on the outside as possible, and get to the lowest area of your home immediately at this point. So, like I mentioned before, I know this doesn't look 100% impressive on radar, but this is what we've got. We've got this little low pressure moving out from Texas and Louisiana, and it's producing these showers, and these showers are rotating given the environment here. So let's go ahead and take a look at our rotation indicator here. Give it just 1 second. Everything is catching up with it right now. But if you know anyone that is on the east side of El Dorado or in Calion at this current time, they do need to take their tornado precautions immediately. Get away from windows, put as many walls to you on the outside as possible, and get to the lowest area of your home immediately here. So you can see where your green and your red combine as one. That is where your tornado potential is going to be at this current time. So this is on the east side of El Dorado at this point. Bear with me for just one moment. I'm going to go ahead and get the road network back up so you guys can kind of see downstream of where this is occurring. So right now this is, I would say, right on 82 at this point, moving northeast at about, I'll clock it about 20 miles per hour. So if you know anyone in Calion or on the east side of Union County, this is between El Dorado and Strong at this point. They do need to take their tornado precautions immediately, get away from windows, put as many walls to you on the outside as possible, and get to the lowest area of your home immediately at this current point. So we're going to put a track on this storm here. We'll put it right here where you see that area of rotation is going to be. Remember, green is towards the radar and red is away from the radar. So we're going to put a track through here. And like I said, fortunately enough, this is going to track east of El Dorado, west of Strong, west of Crossett at this point. But I will say anyone that is in eastern Union County at this time or on the east side of El Dorado, you do need to take your tornado precautions immediately here. So right now, I don't have any cities that are pulled up on my track. I will say downstream from here, we can go ahead and loop the radar for just a moment here. So I would say anyone in Washita County or in east side of Union County, they do need to take their tornado precautions immediately at this current point. There's the area of rotation. What I'm going to do for just a moment is I'm going to go over to our gate-to-gate shear, and we're going to take a look at this. Like I said before, the radar's kind of trying to catch back up. It's going to be right there on 82. I mean, if there were to be the potential for tornado, it's going to be right in there on 82. Going to move more, I say more towards the Calion area. More so than going into near Hampton. I say Calion, I would go ahead and take your tornado precautions just to be on the safe side. This is kind of reminiscent, if you go back in history, this is kind of reminiscent to the May 2nd, 2019 event where we had an area of low pressure move through, produce these brief tornadoes, mainly up there in central and northeastern Arkansas here. So this is kind of similar to that in a way here. So I'm going to go back over to our reflectivity, and there it is right there. And I said before, it doesn't look 100% impressive on radar. I mean, you would expect something like a supercell or something massive on radar here, but this is just a little shower, but it's rotating. And if you heard from earlier in Pine Bluff, we had a couple of ports near the Parago area earlier on. These are the brief, weak tornadoes that we're just going to have to watch as we get towards this evening and through the overnight hours here. So tornado warning is going to go until 10 o'clock. I do believe this is moving more towards the northwest here. See if I can draw this out real fast. This is moving towards this area here, towards more the smack over in the Calion area versus moving due northeast here. So something that I'm going to have to keep an eye on here. But if you're in El Dorado or the east side of El Dorado, I would just go ahead and take your tornado precautions just to be on the safe side at this point. Special weather statement in place at this time here. Now, so before you got that tornado warning in place as well. But on the east side of El Dorado at this point, there's the newest scan coming in. I mean, it's right there. I'm going to see if I can zoom this down even further. And what we're going to do for just a moment is I'm going to switch this over to our rotation indicator. It's going to be right in here. Let me see if I can get our roads up. That's going to be on Nick Springs Road. That was the last time I had a scan on that area of rotation here. So this tornado warning is going to go until 10 o'clock. East side of El Dorado, you need to take your tornado precautions immediately. I would say at this point, if you're in Northlet, the Calion area, since this is moving a little bit more towards the northwest versus northeast, I would go ahead and seek your tornado precautions just to be on the safe side. There it is right there, folks. And I would not be surprised if this thing was a brief tornado at this point. I mean, it's right there on 82. It's coming off of 82 at this time. See if I got a newest scan on that at this point. There it is right in here. And I can zoom this down even further. It's going to be right there just outside of 82. Moving towards the Nick Springs Road. That's on the east side of El Dorado. And it's going to eventually make its way towards Highway 63. And Highway 63, you runs out from El Dorado and goes towards 15 here. So it's going to be right just on the north side of 82 at this current time. Take your tornado precautions. Like I mentioned before, this is going to be those brief, weak, tight, spin-up tornadoes. But it doesn't matter, right? A tornado is a tornado. So you need to take your tornado precautions immediately. Get away from windows. Put as many walls to you on the outside as possible. And get to the lowest area of your home immediately here. So there's the area of rotation at this current time. What I'm going to do for just a moment here, I may turn the radar off for just a second, because this thing has been running all day. And give me 1 second. And we're going to switch this over to our correlation coefficient. And it should be loading up here just shortly. Right in there. Like I mentioned before, I would not be surprised. That's right there on Spencer Lane at this current point. I would not be surprised if that thing was on the ground or it briefly touched the ground. I'm seeing some considerable indications at this point. This is just south of Nick Springs Road, just north of Highway 82. I would not be shocked if that was the case. And I can switch this over to our rotation indicator. It's going to be right in there. I mean, right there in Spencer Lane and also Nick Springs Road here. So that right in there in that general circulation, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing was a brief tornado at some given point. Let's see if it actually maintains itself here. But I said before, tornado warning is going to be in effect. That's until 10 o'clock. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is located near Urbana or 9 miles southeast of El Dorado, moving northeast at 20 miles per hour. Lawson and the Calion area down here, you need to take your tornado precautions immediately. Make sure, like I said before, when you're taking your tornado precautions, you want to get away from the exterior walls, away from the windows, and put as many walls between yourself and the outside as possible. And with this particular setup, you want to act quick. You don't want to take your time trying to get to shelter or anything like that. You want to act pretty faster, because if this thing does touch down, or if it did touch down, it's going to be weak and it's going to be brief. It's going to be very, very quick. So your reaction needs to be just as quick as the warning itself here. But it's going to go until 10 o'clock this evening here, moving northeast at about 20 miles per hour here. I'm questioning if it's actually moving northeast at this point. I would say the radar itself is kind of arguing against that. I'd say it's moving more towards the northwest. Bear me for just a moment here. Like I said, this thing's been running all day. We're going to turn this off for just a little bit, and we're going to get you back up and running here. So give me just 1 second, everybody. Give me 1 second here. Like I said before, our radar's been up all day because we've had these brief, weak spin-up tornadoes, and we've been ready to go live at any given moment here. So bear me for just a moment. We're going to get this back up and running, and we're going to have this up for you guys here just shortly here, okay? So give me just 1 second here, and we'll get this up and running at this point. Let's see here. I think we're good on everything else here, okay? So that tornado warning down there in Union County. See if I can get our Shreveport radar back up. I'm glad we have Little Rock's radar back up, by the way. I know that was a concern earlier on, but we're good to go. So there's still the area of rotation. What I'm also going to do for just a moment here is I'm going to turn on our county map so that people can kind of get a visual on where the counties are. And we're going to switch this over to that, and we're going to bring our radar back up and running. And there it is. Okay, so there's the area of rotation here, and we'll go over to this, and we're going to loop this through at this current point here. As I said before, I'm having some technical difficulties on our side at this point, so give me just 1 second. Okay, should be coming up here just momentarily here. Okay, so See if we can get this going. There it is, right there. Okay, so there's the area of rotation here. It's on the east side of El Dorado, and like I said before, it's moving on the, it's kind of like on the outer peripheries of the tornado warning box itself. I would say for the moment, it is moving more north versus northeast. So what I'm going to do for just a moment is I'm going to put a track on this. I would say Calion, you definitely need to be taking your tornado precautions immediately. Given the latest scan, it's not as organized as it was before. However, with these types of setups, you don't want to say, hey, nothing's going to happen, stuff like that. If you're in Calion, or if you're in, I would dare say that's going to be Calhoun County, not Ouachita County, Calhoun County, you definitely take your tornado precautions immediately at this point. So this is on the east side of El Dorado, west side of Strong. This is, I would say, south and east of Highway, give me 1 second, I'm going to pull that highway up real fast. That is going to be 167. I figure it was 167. 167. So this is south and east of 167, north of 82, west of Strong, east of El Dorado, southeast of Camden at this point, moving north towards Calhoun County. So if you know anyone in these areas, they do need to take your tornado precautions immediately. Get away from windows, put as many walls to unit outside as possible, and get to the lowest area of your home immediately at this point here. Okay, so give me just 1 second here. I'm not seeing any indication of any brief touchdowns or anything like that, which is amazing. However, we're going to continue to monitor the situation very closely here. So we're going to stay on this as long as there's a tornado warning here. So I think we just got a newest update. Tornado warning remains in effect until 10 o'clock for central Union County. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Lawson, moving north at 20 miles per hour. Here's some, obviously the hazard is going to be a tornado. Source radar indicated rotation at this current time here. So this is moving northbound, and I was questioning if it was actually moving north or northeast at this point. So Calion, you definitely need to be taking your tornado precautions immediately. I cannot stress that enough. This is going to be, like I said before, one of these brief, weak type spin ups. If it does get going, it's going to happen quick. So your reaction time needs to be just as fast. So you always want to get away from the windows, put as many walls to the outside as possible, and get to the lowest area of your home immediately at this point. So there's the area of rotation. Give me 1 second. I'm going to get this over here so you guys can see it a little clearer. I'm going to take off the county roads for just a moment. It's going to be right there. It's going to be just north of 82, right on 63. It's going to be moving right towards the Calion area. So if you know anyone in these areas, they do need to take your tornado precautions immediately. Get away from windows, put as many walls to unit outside as possible, and get to the lowest area of your home immediately. I mean, there's the area of rotation right in there. Give me just 1 second. Let me see if I can get my... Give me 1 second. We'll see if I can get our marker up over here. All right, we're good. All right, so there's the area of rotation right in there. It's going to be right through here. That's what the area of rotation is going to be. You need to take your tornado precautions immediately. Get away from windows, put as many walls to any outside as possible, and get to the lowest area of your home immediately. And I want to stress this too right now because I know a lot of people are tuning in, trying to see what's going on and everything like that. This is a tornado warning in Union County. This is not in Little Rock. This is not in North Arkansas. This is not in East Arkansas. This is in far southern Arkansas near the El Dorado area at this point. So tornado warning for Union County until 10 o'clock this evening here. If you know anyone in Calion, they do need to take your tornado precautions immediately. Get away from windows, put as many walls to unit outside as possible, and get to the lowest area of your home immediately here. So Calion, I know you're not directly in the tornado warning polygon itself, but I would definitely go ahead and seek shelter. If you're in downtown El Dorado, I'm fully aware the sirens are probably going off down there in El Dorado at this current point. I would dare say just stay where you are. If you're in El Dorado, go ahead, just stay where you are. I know this is not going to directly impact downtown El Dorado. However, just stay where you are because I know a lot of people travel, especially late at night on 167 that goes towards Calion or go to Northfleet or anything like that. Or if you're on the east side of El Dorado, just stay where you are. Let this storm pass over you, and then you can resume what you were doing here. But like I said before, this tornado warning is going to go until 10 o'clock this evening. Calion, I'd definitely take your tornado precautions. I'd say north from there, just based off of the overall rotation, the presentation of the radar is moving more north, and you can see that with the radar scan. It's moving due north instead of northeast here, and it's kind of reminiscent to what a tropical system would do. You know, you'd have these feeder bands that would come in, they would move northeast, and then north, and then northwest. So this is something that we're going to have to watch during the overnight hours, like I mentioned before. Once this tornado warning is off the board, we are going to switch over to YouTube's continuous coverage. That way you guys have this information during the overnight hours. We have no tornado watch. We have no risk for a tornado per the Storm Prediction Center, no marginal or anything like that. This is something that we just saw coming based off of the environment. So if you know anyone east side of El Dorado or the Calion area, Hampton right now, I would say just watch it. If this thing if we were to take this like we were a tropical system, it moved northeast, north, and it's going to eventually try to turn northwest. So I would say more of a Calhoun County, potentially Ouachita County. I'm going to keep an eye on those areas if this thing decides to kind of pivot to the northwest, and that may try to impact those near the Camden area and stuff like that in the future time. So we'll keep an eye on it at this point, but right at this moment, if you're on the east side of El Dorado or if you're in Union County at this time, you do need to take your tornado precautions immediately. If you're in downtown El Dorado, this is not going to directly impact El Dorado, but stay where you are. It's always safe to stay where you are, especially with situations like this here. And like I mentioned before, we're not expecting this thing to be a massive tornado outbreak overnight or anything like that, but I do want to stress that this is a potential. Any of these little storms that try to get going in the environment we have in place, that will have the potential of producing these brief, weak tornadoes during the overnight hours. And I've zoomed this out so you guys kind of get a visual on what's going on here. So I'd place your low up here in the northeastern side of Texas, western Louisiana, moving north. So as this continues to move into southwestern Arkansas, if you're on the eastern side of it, you have southeast winds, and that's where you have the potential of these isolated brief tornadoes here. So I mentioned before, I'm not expecting this thing to be a massive tornado outbreak or anything like that during the overnight hours here, but just stay with us. Go download our app on Arkansas Weather Watchers, on the Google Play Store, on the Apple Play Store. That way you stay alert during the overnight hours here for any alerts at this point. If one of my moderators can kind of send a link to the app in the comments, I would really appreciate it at this point. So at this time, tornado warning still remains in effect till 10 o'clock. We've got 9 more minutes on it. I do realize they have put a special weather statement in Calhoun County. A strong thunderstorm will impact southeastern Calhoun and southeastern Ouachita counties through 10:15. A Doppler radar was indicating a strong thunderstorm near Calion, or 7 miles east of Norfolk, moving north at 25 miles per hour. Gusty winds up to 50 miles per hour and half-inch hail with this storm here. And that's almost borderline severe thunderstorm warning here. So Hampton, Harrell, also towards the Hampton Airport. I would go ahead, just to be on the safe side, go ahead and have that tornado safe place mindset. Just because this is an intense storm, it's moving like what we would expect from a tropical system, one of these little feeder bands. Go ahead and just be on the safe side. If you're in this polygon, go ahead and have that mindset. Just wait for the storm to kind of pass over and then resume your plans from there here, because it's obviously was forewarned. In these types of situations here, these things can spin up very, very quickly. That's why when we go live, we have no hesitation or anything like that. We see the rotation, boom, we're there. So go ahead and have that mindset if you're in Calhoun County, just to be on the safe side. Nothing wrong with it, especially with the history that it has. And I would dare say, based off of the rotation of the presentation we saw earlier with the velocity, I wouldn't be shocked if this thing did produce a brief tornado for a short period of time on the east side of El Dorado. And luckily, we were able to catch you guys and go live quick enough to kind of give you guys that heads up warning here. But this is what we're going to be expecting during the overnight hours. These quick, brief type spin up tornado potential, and also these warnings. These warnings are going to happen very, very quickly. Little Rock, Shreveport, they're going to put these warnings out as fast as they can. So keep that in mind. Something that we're just going to have to watch very closely here. And you can see with the newest scan, there it is, just south of Calion. At this point, I would say half-inch hail will be possible, 50-mile-per-hour winds, and I would dare say, I'm going to go over to my my rotation indicator at this point. I would go ahead just to be on the safe side. If you're in Calion or in Hampton, just go ahead, seek shelter. There's nothing wrong with it at all. Given the fact that these things can produce a brief tornado in any given moment. It was tool warned when it was down here in Union County. So just something that we're going to keep an eye on here as we progress during the overnight hours here at this time here. So maybe for just a moment, see if I can get our radar at accordingly to us, guys. I apologize for the issues. I'm going to go back over to our rotation indicator real fast. I may switch this over to level 3 because we've had a lot of radar issues throughout the day here. There it is right there. Let me see if I can go over to our velocity real fast here. Okay, so there it is right here. East side of El Dorado, there's tornado warning. They're probably going to drop the tornado warning because this thing is very disorganized. It's not as tight as it was when it was right there on 82. Like I mentioned before, I wouldn't be shocked if there were a brief tornado that briefly touched down right there on 82. But Calion and Hampton, just to be on the safe side, I mean, there's nothing wrong with taking tornado precautions, especially with situations like this. I would go ahead and do it just to be safe. If you know anyone that's traveling on 167 at this point, same thing goes for them. Let's see if I can switch this over to our... Okay, so that's going to be it right in here. Let me see if I can zoom this down. That's going to be right there. Let's see if I can get a newest scan on that. I say right in here on 63 now. Go back over to level 2 real quick. And there's reflectivity. We'll go over to our storm relative velocity for just a moment here. And like I mentioned before, we've had a lot of radar issues throughout the day, and the Little Rock's been down. Shreveport's had a little bit of issues. I would say right in here. It's north of 63 now, so this tornado warning polygon is probably going to end up being expired within the next 5 minutes. I would say right in here. I'd keep an eye on that. I would keep an eye on that potential as we move in towards the Calion area here. Now, we have another one, another special weather statement that's gone up for Garland and Saline County. That's going to go until 10:30. Doppler radar indicated a strong thunderstorm near Hot Springs, moving north at 35 miles per hour, gusts up to 50 miles per hour. So this is kind of acting like a tropical system here. You have your low. Let me see if I can draw this out. You have your low that's centered right in here, and you've got these feeder bands that are moving into Arkansas. So this is kind of acting like a tropical system. We dealt with this back in 2019, May 2nd, where it kind of impacted areas along Interstate 30 and up there in northeastern Arkansas. It was a slight risk day, 5% tour. I'm really shocked we didn't have a severe risk co-op from Storm Prediction Center just for this potential. However, we're still going to be here. We're going to still keep you guys updated at this point here. So I'm having a lot of radar issues at this point. Let me see if I can get this back up and running for you guys. So there's that tornado warning storm. I'm going to safely say the tornado warning is probably going to get expired. If you're in Calion or you're in Hampton, go ahead and seek shelter at this point. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a track on this. If you bear me for just a moment. Give me 1 second here. I'm gonna turn my radar off. I'm gonna turn it back on. Like I said before, I'm having a lot of issues at this point. So it's gonna be right there on Calion. And I would say the Hampton area, just go ahead and seek your tornado precautions just to be on the safe side. See if I can get our track up at this point. That tornado warning polygon is gonna be gone within the next 5 minutes here. So not really too concerned about the tornado warning polygon. I am concerned for my folks up there towards Calion and the Hampton area here. So it's going to be right in here. We're going to put a track. It's moving north. I'm going to clock at about 25 miles per hour to give you guys somewhat of a heads up. Calion, 10:07, which is going to be within the next 10 minutes. And in Hampton, it's going to be right around the 10:40 to 10:42 time frame here. I'd say probably a little bit faster than that if you're in the Hampton area here. So keep that in mind, something that we're going to watch very closely throughout the overnight hours. I do believe, let me double check and make sure what they're going to do with this tornado warning real fast here. Okay, so tornado warning for Central Union County will expire at 10 o'clock. The storm, which prompted the warning, has weakened below severe limits and no longer is capable of producing a tornado. So that's from the National Weather Service. However, based off of your environment, I am not going to safely say that you are in the clear. I'm going to, if you're in Calion or you're in Hampton, go ahead, seek your tornado precautions just to be on the safe side. I'd say it's still a pretty intense storm. I know at the moment it doesn't look the best on radar in terms of overall presentation. However, in these situations, you just have to be very careful at this point, okay? So El Dorado is saying no sirens at this time, which is good. which the storm was on the east side of El Dorado, so we're good on that. And they expired it for Union County. It's going to go until 10. Once it is expired, what we're going to do is we're going to briefly drop the live stream for just a little bit, get everything kind of set up for the overnight hours, and then we're going to be back live to continuous coverage on YouTube. I will not be speaking during that point. It'll have music in the background and have your information. But at this point, I would safely say the Calion area and the Hampton area, just go ahead just to be on the safe side. Seek your tornado precautions. Elsewhere, you're relatively good at this point. If we have any additional warnings, we will be here. For those that are wondering why we don't do it on Facebook, we do it on YouTube, but we don't do it on Facebook. Facebook, it's very, very difficult because of the algorithm issue. If you go live and it's continuous and you have a warning, it will not alert you. So that's why we kind of separate Facebook from whenever we have these tornado warning situations. YouTube, you don't have that problem because you're constantly live and it constantly kind of notifies you like, hey, they're live doing this. So tornado warning's gone. That special weather statement is gone. But the special weather statement for Calhoun County and southeastern Ouachita County still remains in effect. And like I said before, this is a special weather statement. This is under a severe thunderstorm warning. So basically, this is going for 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts and half-inch in size of hail going over Calion, and it's going to go into the Hampton area here at this point. So what I'm going to do, just double-checking this at this last time, I want to say at this point, Calion, maybe for just a little bit longer, let this storm kind of pass you over, and then you're going to be good. Also, I want to kind of bring your attention to something. These storms are not going to have lightning, and you will be very lucky to hear thunder out of these. These are going to be kind of your typical tropical showers. However, based off your environment, it can produce a tornado in a given moment here. So right now, the broad area of rotation is still there. So Calion and Hampton still remain where you are. I'm going to stay on it for just a little bit longer because I feel like you guys need an explanation on what's going to be happening during the overnight hours here. And just in case they do issue a new warning or anything like that, I'm here. So I'm going to stay on this for just a little bit longer. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom this out, and I'm going to show you guys what's going on here. So I'm going to turn this off. And what we're going to do for just a moment is we're going to show you guys what's going on here. Okay, so bear with me for just a minute. And there's the area of rotation here. So it's going to be right here. There's your area of low pressure, not area of rotation, area of low pressure in northeastern Texas. This is why you have that sneaky low-end tornado threat throughout the overnight hours. This is in northeast Texas, that area of low pressure, as you can see with the feeder bands going into western Louisiana, coming up into southern Arkansas here. And if you followed us during tropical storm or hurricane coverage, if you're on the eastern side of these little areas of low pressure, they can produce these brief, weak tornadoes as they move north. Throughout the overnight hours, something that we're going to watch very, very closely, especially for southern and central Arkansas here. Until this low gets out of the area, I'm not going to safely say, oh, hey, nothing's going to happen or anything like that. Something that you just have to keep an eye on during the overnight hours. Also, one more thing I want to kind of bring your attention to as well is the flooding threat. As this system continues to move to the north, this band right in here that you see on the east side of Shreveport is going to set itself up in southwestern Arkansas. That's going to go for Lafayette, Miller, Hempstead County, over towards Sevier, Howard, Pike County, and over to Little River County. So that's going to be far southwestern Arkansas. I will say you will have to watch for a flash flood threat throughout the overnight hours if that band does not get out of the way within a reasonable time here. So something that we're going to keep an eye on at this point. Let me double check everything at this current time. Tornado warning has been allowed to expire. I'm not seeing any new information on that at this point. I'm going to take a look at that. I know we had another one up here near the Garland County area here. So I'm going to do for just a moment, I'm going to zoom down to this one real fast here. Like I said before, I'm going to stay on live just as long as possible with these types of situations here. So let me go over to our radar for just a moment. Let me see if I can get this over to our radar real quick. And I know Little Rock's had a lot of issues with the radar throughout the day. So I'm going to see what it ends up doing with this one. This one is a special weather statement for the Hot Springs area, east side of Garland, west side of Saline at this point, also southern Perry County. At the moment, I'm going to go over to our storm relative velocity for just a second. It's very broad. It is a very, very broad area of rotation. At the moment, I'm going to say no to the tornado potential, but I would watch it. I would say the Hot Springs Village area. Something to keep an eye on here. This is what I mean. You're going to have to pick apart these storms throughout the overnight hours. Any storms that have that area of rotation with them is going to be capable of producing these brief, weak tornadoes throughout the overnight hours. So the Hot Springs Village area, just watch it close. Right now, I'm going to say no because the presentation itself doesn't support the potential for tornado, but I will keep an eye on that. Like I mentioned before, when we break away, we're going to set up for the overnight hours, and then we're going to be back live on YouTube, and then we will break in on Facebook as needed here. So something I am going to keep an eye on at this point. Right now, no tornado warning at this current time here, but if you know anyone in the Hot Springs Village area, just say, hey, we got something that we're going to have to watch during the overnight hours. I'm going to put a track on it. I'll clock it about 30 miles per hour. And it's going to be right on Hot Springs Village within the next, I would say, 13 minutes at this point. So, I mentioned before, no tornado warning at this current time here, but something that I'm going to keep an eye on during the overnight hours here. Okay, so that's all I have for you guys right now. As I mentioned before, area flow pressure, northeast Texas, moving north. With Arkansas being on the eastern side, we will have to watch out for these brief, weak, tight, spin up tornado potentials. I want to make this perfectly clear to everybody that's listening to me right now. This is not going to be like it was on March 31st. We're not going to have these significant long track tornadoes throughout the overnight hours. I understand a lot of people's storm anxiety is through the roof, especially everything that's happened over the last month to 2 months. But I want to stress to you guys right now, this is not going to be a widespread issue. If you don't see severe weather tonight, awesome. If you do, you know what to do. Throughout the overnight hours, we'll be here. I'm going to monitor every single one of these little storms. If I see that area of rotation, I will let you guys know on Facebook. So make sure you're following us on Facebook and YouTube for any posts. This is something that we're going to monitor during the overnight hours. Like I mentioned before, this is not going to be a widespread issue, but I'm not going to say nothing's going to happen because, as you saw in Union County, it can happen very quickly. So I would say central, southern Arkansas, I may generate a map coming up within the next 20 minutes. I may post this on Facebook as well. East side of the low, I'd say just watch it. If something happens during the overnight hours, we'll let you guys know at this point. But I'm going to watch the Garland County storm, the Saline County storm. I'm going to keep an eye on the Calhoun County storm at this point. No tornado warnings on the board at this current time. Like I mentioned before, we are going to break away from live coverage just momentarily to get everything set up for the overnight hours. And then we will be here and we'll keep you guys updated here. So I'm going to double check everything, make sure we're good. And I think that is it at this current time here. Okay, so that's all I got for you guys right now. YouTube, continuous coverage throughout the overnight hours. Facebook, we will break in if needed for any tornado warnings or anything like that, or if we have a situation where I think there is area of rotation and there's no warning, I will break in on Facebook and stuff like that, kind of give you guys an update on that as well. As said before, go download our app, Arkansas Weather Watchers, on the Google Play Store, on the Apple Play Store. It will alert you of any alerts that get issued during the overnight hours at this point. And also, we have live interactive radar that you can kind of keep up with everything at this time here. So that's all I got for you guys right now. We're going to continue to keep you guys updated right here, your source for all things Arkansas weather.